Hello, welcome to the BiG Scuba Show.
So hi, I'm Tash.
I'm George.
And we're on the BiG Scuba Podcast with Gemma and Ian.
Hey!
Today's episode is sponsored by Narked at 90, so let's find out a bit more about them. Narked at 90, their tagline has been beyond technical, which describes them pretty well. John Routley and Brent Hudson launched the company over 20 years ago. They are both technical divers who have logged thousands of mixed gas dives between them over a 30-year period. Using their engineering know-how and diving expertise, have developed bespoke, personal, commercial and military diving equipment and products of a universally recognised, unparalleled calibre.
Their ability to be adaptive and versatile with their developments led them to support the NHS during COVID. Using their superior knowledge of breathing and oxygen monitoring systems to help develop emergency ventilators. They also design and supply the sneaky stuff used by defence-based development groups throughout the Western world, although they can't tell us much about that. If you're thinking of moving across to tech diving or completely new to diving, Narked at 90 can advise and guide on the best equipment and setup for your personal or commercial requirements. Narked at 90 have unparalleled experience of shearwater dive computers and are the longest serving and sole and UK European service centre for those. They are happy to offer technical support, servicing, repairs and upgrades to all shearwater computers, past and present. Narked at 90 stock shearwater computers, but are also stockists and technical support centre for many other manufacturers, including Divesoft, JJCCR, Hollis, Revo and Kiss Rebreathers.
Based centrally in the UK, Narked at 90 also offer full rebreather head servicing for selected manufacturers.
Bespoke cable assemblies.
Advice on specific fitting requirements.
Suggestions and guidance for home builds.
Computer laser cutting and engraving.
Pressure testing to simulate 400-metre dives.
So, Narked at 90, a reputation built on supporting both manufacturers and divers worldwide.
Go to narkedat90.com and make sure you are following their social media to keep up to date with their latest news and offers.
Narked at 90, large enough to cope, small enough to care.
Hello and welcome to the middle of a lake in Norfolk. Yes, this is the BiG Scuba Podcast and we are on
our Sea Lion boards.
Yes, we have gone, we thought we'd try something a bit different, you know us, we like to try something a bit different. And we are in the middle of a lake, literally in the middle of a lake.
In a nice rainstorm, but it's nice.
Who ordered rain?
I don't know, the sun disappeared.
This wasn't the part of the forecast, but we have swans, we have ducks and all sorts. So, not diving today, but we are paddleboarding this morning. And it's, it was nice until the rain started.
Yeah, so we took it as an opportunity to get on the Sea Lion boards and...
here we are. So, welcome to this podcast. Yes, this is a scuba diving podcast, but we're on a paddleboard. Anyway, so I hope the sound's all right. We're not doing the whole thing on this, but we just thought it'd be
a bit of an intro.
And we'll add this to the social media later.
And if you want to check out Sea Lion boards, go to www.sealionboards.com.
Yeah, and why is it when you rain, you always feel like this urge to go, raindrops keep falling on me?
It's quite pretty on the lake, isn't it?
Anyway, so coming up on this podcast, we are going to be talking to long-term friends of the podcast, one of our really early guests who come on the days when we were doing little big chats, in lockdown. Who remembers lockdown?
And they were on our YouTube channel broadcast, but Tash and George Scott.
Birthday girl.
Yeah.
We better not say how old she is, but she's 21 today.
Yes.
Happy 21 today.
Yeah, so this is your birthday edition, Tash, and we enjoyed talking to you, and that will follow shortly.
And but right now, Gemma's now going to sing Happy Birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Tash. Happy birthday to you.
Woohoo! There we go. Right, on with the podcast. Well, paddleboarding's been good. It's been really nice. We've got this great big lake in the middle of Norfolk, and don't live too far away from it, and it's awesome, isn't it?
It is, yep. So we had both sea lion boards out today.
Yeah, which are really good. What's the name of them boards?
Rapoka and the Otago.
Yeah, which are really nice boards, and they look really good. And
we swapped over today, didn't we?
Yeah, they're good, and good touring and good boards to start on. Well made. You get everything in it, don't you? Get the pump.
Yeah.
That you can change from 1 to 2 cylinders, and then for 3, it all makes it easy.
Yeah, they come in a backpack that you can put on your back and sort of transport them around to the location you're at. Yeah, but everything's in there. Pump, fin. There's a leash in there as well, so you've got everything, and a lovely paddle.
They are. So we like to get out on the water. Sometimes you can't always dive, but it's nice to get out on the water and enjoy it, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. So we had a lot of fun. Weather, it rained a bit, didn't it?
It did.
It's the first time I paddleboarded in quite torrential rain, I suppose.
Yeah.
And we've seen plenty of wildlife, plenty of ducks, swans, fish. Yep.
That are underwater. Did you know that? Fish are underwater. Gemma cleared that up for me earlier.
Said, look, there's a fish underwater.
Underwater. Which is really cool.
Anyway, so that was just in the moment.
Quite
it was
a big carp,
exciting. Yeah, it's quite big, wasn't it?
So this is actually also a big fishing lake here. So we've got the sailing club, but we've also got a big fishing contingency here as well. So you have to be careful you don't get tangled up in the lines and whatever.
Well, it's just respecting people's...
Yeah, everybody, it's a big bit of water that everybody want to use. So, so that is really nice.
Yeah, yep, so we had a good time. So look out for Sea Lion boards. Just go to the website, www.sealionboards.com.
Yeah.
And if you use our code...
They have just had a sale on. So
they've got a sale on. They have at the moment.
They
yeah.
have?
Yeah, so if you use our code BiG Scuba, you'll get sale price plus a little bit more discount.
There you go,
so,
stick with us, we save you money.
Yeah, so definitely worth doing. Yeah, and make the most of the summer that we've got left and get out on the water. Yeah. So.
Also, just want to say thank you for listening. We do appreciate our listeners who tune into our nonsense every couple of weeks, so it's really good. And we enjoy doing this, and it's always good to share stories of the divers that we come across, and we've got a great lineup of people who are coming on as well.
Yeah.
So
but if you've got anybody you want to recommend to come on the podcast, or if you yourself are interested, drop us a message, drop us a line.
Or if you've got that last breath, to come on.
Yeah.
Well, there's a hint.
Yeah, but we like variety of guests as well, don't we?
We do.
We've got to
It's
diving
good to mix it
is
up.
a very diverse sport.
And we wanted to get Tash and George on because they're quite well known in the diving community, and obviously they have their regular trips, and it sounded like an awesome trip that they were going on. So we wanted to get the download from them as well, didn't we?
Yeah, and then if obviously anybody's interested in looking at future trips they have, they can go to their Facebook group, and you can see what they've got on offer. So, and they seem to have trips, quite a few trips each year, and they've got plans for 2024, 2025, which is really good.
Have you listened to the last episode? I hope you enjoyed that. That was the boys from Narked at 90 talking about their early days on the in the water. Going down, diving, actually knowing the kit is going to break and you're going to take some spanners down with
diving with spanners and screwdrivers. Yeah,
that takes some doing.
Yeah.
Have a listen to that if you haven't listened to that. It's a really good one.
And they're obviously sponsors of the podcast, so do look them up. They've got a good website, and just keep following us, and we'll be promoting.
If you wonder what that noise is, someone's got a pump.
And they're blowing up their paddleboard.
So they're taking the easy way out. Maybe we should have done that.
No, it's a bit of exercise. We were warm when we got on the water.
Yeah.
It's all arm exercises. Yeah. So that's Tash and George, and our previous episodes. We haven't been diving, but we've got some plans to go. Well, we're in the pool on Tuesday, aren't we?
In the pool this coming Tuesday. I think Scuba Honey is going to be joining us. She's going to do some more practice some skills, take the mask off and stuff like that. We are potentially diving next weekend.
Yes, so we're just waiting to see.
The question is, do we go somewhere where the visibility's not particularly great at the minute?
And Honey's going to be coming with us.
Yeah.
So she's obviously.
Or we go somewhere else. So we're kind of not sure at the minute. And also, we are then a few weeks' time back at the Farms, which is a big favourite of mine. I love the Farms.
Looking forward to that. Yep. So
Yeah.
that's towards the end of the month.
Annual July pilgrimage up to the Farne Islands in Northumberland.
Yeah.
And then we are at Lundy, seeing Ben and his family. Looking forward to seeing them, aren't we?
Yeah, and hopefully some seals.
Yeah, and some seals. No whelks. I don't think we'll see any whelks.
Sea snails. Yeah, no. So we're there to. So we're going to have a dive and we're going to have a snorkel as well. So show
Look
honey,
forward to that.
both sides of it.
And then we're back at the Farms in September.
Yeah, so we've got plenty
And
of
then
diving.
Hopefully, a bit of diving in between that as well. Somewhere maybe local, maybe Stony. I don't know. See.
And the North Norfolk diving has started.
Yes.
So
yes.
that's a possibility. But it's just we've got to have the weather conditions right, and they have been a bit blowy just recently, so it's not been the easiest entry or exit. So we've kind of left it for the.
And we do work full time as well, so work does
do this for fun.
Work does get in the way.
Yeah, but we try and fit everything in, don't we? So,
Yeah, and we might be doing something with Ford a bit later on in the year as well. So we're kind of keeping fingers crossed on that one.
Yep, we're always spinning plates and juggling balls.
Absolutely. Are you? I'm not. I don't do any juggling balls, thank you. What you do in your own
Spinning
time,
plates.
that's up to you. You heard it here first, viewers.
I'm saying the wrong things today.
Yeah, you certainly are. Anyway. On that note, I think we should get Tash and George on, I think. We might have to change the...
Come on.
Maybe we'll call this one Gemma juggles balls on this one. Or Gemma confirms fish are underwater.
Yeah, but what else did I say earlier?
I don't know.
Something. Anyway, Gem's World.
Yes, hope you enjoy that, and thanks for downloading, and we will see you soon.
Yes, so enjoy Tash and George.
Anyway, so we've got Tash and George Scott coming on. Have you been drinking?
No.
And
paddleboarding.
Yes.
High on paddleboarding.
Right. Okay. So if you haven't heard that, Tash and George Scott are coming up. They're next.
So enjoy, and thank you for downloading the BiG Scuba Podcast.
So you just come back from Bikini Atolls?
Yeah, we went out in April, come back in May. We were out there for about 3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks. 3 weeks in Bikini Atoll. Well, between the Pacific Islands of Kwajalein and all the way out to Bikini, the atoll, Bikini Island itself. Yeah, we were 3 weeks. Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely mammoth journey to get there.
Okay. We'll get to that in a bit. But I think what we should do I know you're quite well known in like the diving world, but I think what we should do for people who don't know you is let's have a little bit of background about your diving history. George, you're ex-forces, aren't you? Are you still serving?
I know I'm still at the moment. I am actually currently serving, so retired and re-enlisted very quickly.
Facial hair.
Yeah, so I'm a currently serving soldier. Yeah.
You are. Cool. Tash, do you want to go first? Tell us a little bit about what does diving mean to you and what got you started?
So I got into diving because of George. I lived in Weymouth all my life, never dived, which is kind of ironic. It's a bit of a diving mecca, isn't it? And then George started diving with work. I never thought I'd be able to dive. I had terrible trouble with my ears. So I was really put off by it, to be fair. And George persuaded me to get going. So I did. Gildenburg Water, a lot of people will have dived at. Pretty much can't see anything from about there. Very cold. It was winter, but I cracked on and got hooked. That was the start of where we are now, to be fair, because of him. I blame George for that. It's cost me a fortune over the years. So very quickly we sort of flicked into the military diving with George, and I joined in some of their diving. So I moved over to BZAC, so I'm qualified in Paddy and BZAC, and then went through up to instructor levels and up to advanced diver and BZAC. And then we just started we found liverboards. One day George came home and said, "Look, we've got a liverboard. This is like going to be amazing. This is really the way to dive." I was a bit skeptical, never done it before. Jumped on our first liverboard with Blue O2, who everyone's familiar with, And that was the start of a very long relationship with them. And I have no idea how many times we've been out to Egypt and done various liveaboards with them now, but it became a thing. And that's how we ended up with Tash and George's dive trips, where it was literally just charter a boat, share the cost, get the best deal we can for everybody. And that's where we are now, really.
Yeah, and that's really cool because you've done, like you say, you've done numerous trips. And how many people have you got in your group now?
The group is actually quite big, probably in terms of the people that consistently come out on the boats. There's probably 40.
I don't know. Yeah, probably,
yeah. It's literally, you can put a boat out and in an hour it's gone.
I think that's where our paths first crossed, actually.
I think it might have been. Yeah,
I started following your group, I think.
Yeah.
On the old Facebook.
Yeah. So have you constantly got trips kind of planned for this year, next year?
Yeah. We've literally just scheduled 2025's Red Sea trip. So we're always 2 or 3 trips in advance. Gives people time to pay for it. There's no pressure on people then. It just makes it much easier. We're all in a bit of a tight environment now financially, aren't we? So the longer people want to pay for it, the easier it is. But I think George's diving history is probably a bit more glittery than mine, and how he got there.
I wouldn't say glittery, but
You started with the military, didn't you? So
yeah.
Come on then, George, what's yours?
Oh, I started done a try dive in Florida some years ago. I didn't take it. Then we went away to Dominican Republic. The diving was free.
We didn't even do it, did we?
I didn't even do it. And then it came back and I thought, right, stop that and let me see if I can get myself trained in military run courses. Or they did at the time down at Joint Services Sub Aqua Diving Centre at Fort Bovisand at the time. I went to put myself on a course down there and learned to dive. That was fine. Then I came across Gildenburg Water because we had bought a house down this way and decided to do a dive master internship, which was fun. So worked in Gildy every weekend, helping out uncles, etc. A little bit like what you do, Ian, and which I thoroughly enjoyed. It was great, met loads of people. And then we went to north of Scotland and started military diving on expeditions all around the world, Ascension, Egypt, Gibraltar, Cyprus, to name a few places, Malta. And then realised that, I could do that relatively easily. Then moving around from place to place, and going with regular packets of soldiers that would use the same divers again abroad. I trained up to become a service sub-aqua diving supervisor. So for every diving serial, you need a service sub-aqua diving supervisor. So I done my training in that, and which I've recently been moved to an expedition service sub-aqua diving supervisor. And I'm fortunate enough to go away on diving serials 3-4 times a year, over and above what we do. So
he's never here.
Yeah. So in between, since Bikini, I've been away to Malta and diving, and then I'm just back from Sharm last weekend. So yeah, I keep relatively busy. So and then Tash is like, come on, we're off again.
I need to get some in.
Yeah, exactly. So we're kind of getting there, and obviously in that period, I'd also become interested in deep diving it and rebreather diving, and drifted across to where I am now. Diving the JJ8 Mod 3 level, so that's quite cool as well. I quite enjoy that.
Yeah,
and that's it.
So you qualified to dive with your rebreather down to, is that 100 meters?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Yeah. That's a fair old way, isn't it?
Yeah. And Tash, are you on rebreather?
No, I'm still on open circuit, but I've got Normoxic tickets, so that gives me 60 meters on Trimix. So it probably gives me pretty much what I want most of the time. Great in the Red Sea at those depths. It's really nice and clear. I'm not a massive fan of being in the dark too much. It's not my favourite. So I use it more abroad than I do here.
Yeah. I suppose if there's something particular that you want to see, then it's nice having that range of depth that you can go down to.
Few options.
Look at.
Options. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. No, that's good. What's your what's your thoughts on what happened to the sub at the weekend then?
Oh, I think if there's any way to go on a submarine, that's probably the best way to go if what they say is true.
Yeah.
Quick, don't know anything about it. At those depths, they'd have been pulverised in a millisecond if what they say.
When you think of those depths, you think about, you qualified to go down to 100 metres. That's the fairway. It's the height of the Big Ben. And they were down 3,800. It's such
mental, isn't it?
Yeah,
you just can't comprehend the pressure at that depth.
No. I suppose that they're privileged enough in life to have that opportunity to do that. And I suppose with anything that we do as a collective, it is a risky pastime. It's adventurous, and you know what, these things do go wrong, but they tried it.
Yeah.
So a good opportunity, but not a bad way to go. Maybe legislation is going to change now, though. I understand James Cameron's piped up and said, yeah.
Well, the postie yesterday delivering something yesterday or the day before said, because he knows we dive, he said, just let me ask you a question. Knowing what you know now, if you had the opportunity, no money, to worry about, would you go and visit the Titanic? I went, hell yeah. Yeah.
Love to go.
The risks, you sign up for it. We sign waivers wherever you go. If you go on a boat in Arabia, you sign your life away. If you go anywhere in the world doing anything that is anything like diving, where there's an element of risk, you sign your life away. You're in risk. So
and it all has to start somewhere, doesn't it? It's like I said, flying. Mistakes have happened as we've gone through, aviation. It's just
breathers were totally unlegislated when they first came out.
Yeah.
And lots of people died initially. People still die, but lots of people died. They were unlegislated. Then legislation comes in. It's just a process, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's just another bit of news, isn't it?
Now, you've mentioned quite a few places abroad that you like to dive. And before we really kind of started recording, we were just talking about Stony, because you was there yesterday. But where do you like to dive in the UK? Where's like one of your places that you do like to go in the UK?
We're probably different on that. I quite like going out of Portland. There's lots and lots of different wrecks out there at different depths. There's quite a variety. And the UK is quite good.
Yeah.
Obviously, George probably has a different perspective because he looks at some of the deeper stuff. He goes out with some of the guys down, like Dom Robinson and those guys, who do a lot more of sort of exploratory diving. But yeah, I'm a bit partial to Portland, to be honest.
Yeah. And are you into photography as well? Do you like taking pictures?
Yeah, I probably annoy the hell out of George on most dives that we dive together because I literally have the camera in front of my face most of the time, to be fair. So yeah, that is a passion of mine. Yeah. George definitely would have a different perspective, I think.
Yeah, I just let her crack on, do her own thing. Happy wife, happy life.
In fact, I think, wasn't you, Tash, leading the dive when I last dived with you guys?
Yeah.
That's when the biz wasn't that bad.
And that's when you said you're advanced. And I found myself in the new group.
Hashtag fail, never mind. We'll move on.
I remember that day, actually.
Yeah, I can't blame the viz for that one.
So what's your next trip you've got coming up?
Oh, Egypt this time next week we fly out, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot, isn't it?
Got a bit of a packed itinerary with a lot of stuff from 20 to 100 metres booked in for the week.
So on that boat there'll be a range of people doing different dives, are there not?
Yeah. So I mean, to be fair, the group that tend to come out quite a lot with this, they're such lovely people, and it really doesn't matter about the depths. It's not important. Everybody gets what they want, and this is the great thing about Blue too. They've got a niche where they can cater on the same dive for guys that want to go to 4 meters or 104 meters, which is absolutely fantastic. So I think that's why we keep going back to him. So we have got a broad gambit between the Million Hope Rep, which is quite far up north. So beyond where you would know Thistlecombe, on the left hand side, like you're heading up towards Alexandria, there's a wreck called the Million Hope Rep, which structurally it's like a cargo a container, but it's absolutely massive. But it's such shallow wreck, but the penetrations can be so long and so bright and so airy that we've managed to negotiate that into our itinerary. So we're quite excited about that. But
then you've got some really deep stuff as well, haven't you? So
yeah. So hopefully to get onto the Gulf Fleet, which would be great. And that sits on Shabum Gamar, and it sits between about 100 and 105 meters. Actually, jammed in between two reefs, so there's a swim through directly below it. So you can imagine it's lying flat, but jammed.
Really?
Yeah. So that's quite cool. But the irony is everybody else can do the exact same dive, shallower on, because it's on a reef. So it's fantastic. It's really great. So we've got lots and lots of different things. Well, it's wind dependent though, because it's always the wind that catches. Yeah. Like you said, it was running up to 16 mile an hour wind. So it's great.
Yeah. So is wreck diving your thing, George?
I like wrecks. Yeah, I enjoy wrecks.
It's not so good for squishy things, are you?
I don't really know what they are. I think they're edible, aren't
they? And how about you, Tash? What's your bag with diving?
I would say I swing more to wrecks, but I see the wreck as a reef, so I see it as two things. You see a lot of life on there. I like taking pictures of the life as well as the wrecks. But I started to come back a bit and started enjoying really coming back off the wreck and taking those big money shots where you try and get the whole wreck and go for the wide angle stuff now rather than the macro-y kind of photography. So I quite enjoy doing that. You can then get a diver in a shot and really see the perspective of the wreck and how big some of those wrecks really are, which I don't always appreciate when you're diving. You only ever see a small bit at any one time. So I
think I learned quite a lot in bikini from Ash Sutherland and Adam Beard.
Yeah, we had a couple of professional photographers in bikini, so it's great when you're on those trips because you can pick at their knowledge and get tips and advice from them, and they kind of give you some really, really good pointers, which is quite helpful.
Yeah.
What sort of camera setup and what do you use?
I've got a mirrorless, a Canon EOS Mark III mirrorless camera, so it's quite compact, which makes it quite heavy in the water compared to some DSLRs because there's a lot more airspace in their units. But mine's quite heavy. It does exactly what I need it to do. I don't really need to. It's very. It was a lockdown purchase actually. It's one of those that George kept saying, you should get away from your compact. That's what you do all the time. Go and get something better. And somebody in lockdown was selling a setup that got me going so very cheaply. Some people spend thousands and thousands on their setups. I probably haven't even spent £1,500 on mine.
I know some of them.
Right time.
Some of them waterproof houses, they're like a couple of grand just on their own. That's before you get the camera. Then
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I managed to get my housing, the tray and arms, and the camera itself for about £600, I think. To get going. Yeah.
You are right, though, Ian. If Tash was to go off the shelf and put her camera together, it would be horrifically expensive.
I put a package together with a well-known camera set up in the UK, and I think it came to about 4,500 when I did it all from new.
So much money, isn't it?
Yeah.
Car.
It is, yeah. People say diving is expensive, but then when you suddenly start getting into photography, it adds another dimension.
You've just got all this kit, because when we go now, we're just we've got the car's just full of kit.
We don't. Yeah, I mean, our garage is literally just a dive shack.
It's horrific.
There's cylinders, compressor. Yeah. Literally on the table in front of me.
A rebreather ready.
We have a rebreather.
And now I'm buying more kit for honey now.
You got to buy more for honey. Oh, good God! But the good thing about bringing somebody into diving, especially from the family, is look, love, look, you can have my old one.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a bright new shiny one.
It's called stock rotation, Ian. That's what we call it.
But all the fun starts now, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, we just booked on to go to Lundy, aren't we?
Yeah.
In August. So
so
she got to dive with seals.
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys have done that before, right? I thought you'd do that.
We did that last year, didn't we? But it'd be great to take Honey and for her to experience sea diving.
Yeah. The good thing about that is that they'll go out, find a nice place to moor, and then just dive off the boat. Where the only thing with farm that they only literally back up, and then you've got to dive in, and she's not, she's only now got into it, and I didn't really want to drop her in just like that. So I thought that'd be a nice way of getting her a bit of experience and that. Really.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. What a John here.
Yeah, you've got to make it as nice as possible in those early stages, haven't you?
Yeah, and it's great. She coped with one dive at Stony, didn't she?
Yeah,
we didn't push her to do any more.
No, that's it. You got to be a bit careful to think. Well, at this age, you suddenly go, I don't like this, and you lost.
This is so easily done, and keeping it exactly as you've just said with her daughter. She came up in the diving model. We got her on the twin set really, really early in life, and she was quite competent. We took her away in a liveaboard, exactly as you just said. So to show how good it can be, came back in the winter, took her to Stony, and she was like, "May as well sell my kit now, Dad. I ain't getting back in there."
Just might as well consider me a warm water diver from now on.
Yeah. Is she still diving while she's in the Navy?
She's not dived for some time. She's just been absolutely maxed out with training and
to be fair, Christmas before last, we took her away to the cenotes, so we went and dived out in Mexico in the cenotes. She loved that. Great, yeah. So she keeps saying, "Dad, can we go back to Mexico? Dad, can we go back to Mexico?" And we keep saying, "We'll try and fit it in, love. We'll try and fit it in." But diary's just like that all the time, isn't it? Yeah. And it's
what's getting on in the Navy.
Oh God,
isn't it?
Strength to strength.
Yeah.
Doing
really well.
She brought her boat down south, so she's now down in the Guz, as they call it, Plymouth. She posted down there, and she has noticed a massive seismic shift in temperature between Faslane and Plymouth. And I was like, funny that, love.
Her submarine's in for we're not allowed to say submarine, you've got to call it a boat. I'll get told off. Her boat is in for a refit, so she could be down south for a wee while, which is good.
Yeah, which would
be great. Worse, you could have called it a ship.
Say something like you can fit a boat in a ship or a ship in a boat. I can't remember which way around it is. I have no idea.
My brother was out on his boat last weekend. He said it was 23 degrees down at off the Needles.
Wow.
Nice.
In water.
Lovely. Yeah,
really warm down there.
Yeah.
No wonder she's noticing the difference.
Oh bloody hell,
Yeah, I'll certainly be looking forward to my 30-degree water temperature next week. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
So Bikini Atolls then. So it's one of the places to go in the diving world, and chance of a lifetime to go. So tell us about it. Whose idea was it to go, and did it take a lot of organising?
Massive amount of organising. Definitely George's idea. I wasn't even technically qualified to do bikini when he decided he wanted to do it, I would say. So I had to go through a bit more of a training, to get my non-toxic for open circuit. George was already qualified, but definitely George's idea.
Yeah, guilty. Exactly as you just said, Ian. It's one of those bucket list trips, and fortunately for me, I had come up to what was at the time a retirement, and the forces take care of you, and you have a window before tended to start. Didn't quite work out for me as planned. Nonetheless, I decided that I was going to put some money aside to take Tash and I out to bikini without really doing as much legwork as I probably could have done. And then over the period of a couple of years and going through a lockdown, I realised just exactly how far it was, and that it was going to take maybe 3.5 days to get here. The rest's pretty much history.
So just to put some kind of concept on how long it takes for somebody in the UK to get to bikini, you get on a flight, your destination in the US is Honolulu, so it takes 10 hours to go, depending on what way round. The route we took was San Francisco, Honolulu, so 10 hours from UK to San Francisco, 7 hours San Francisco to Honolulu. We took the opportunity to have 2 nights in Honolulu, which from George's perspective was a really good idea.
Pretty much got no choice, because the way it works, you're crossing the date line, so your luggage, you struggle to keep up with you, which was great, because TSA intercepted my baggage and they took my rebreather apart, etc. And then
refused to fly it.
Yeah, they refused to fly it from San Francisco, so we had a day to try and fix that. Then it turned up, which was great.
Now, once you leave Honolulu, you get on what they call the island hopper, and the island hopper goes between Honolulu normally all the way to Guam, via several different islands. So it goes from Honolulu to Majuro and then to Kwajalein. That's another 7 hours. When you get to Kwajalein, you land. Kwajalein is a military base. They lease the island from the Marshall Islands on like a really, really long 100-year lease or something. So it's a all military, and you're not allowed anywhere without being pretty much escorted. They put you in this room, which has it's very open. There's no fans. It's not air conditioned. It's absolutely roasting hot. You've just got to off a plane. You hang in. You want to drink water. There's no water, and they leave you there for as long as they choose to leave you there, just because they can. That's what it feels like.
Tash is making it sound like Guantanamo Bay. It wasn't that bad.
Sounds. We'll give you some orange boiler jacket, boiler suits.
I have no idea how long we were there for, but it was quite some time. They then kind of escort you, which is literally a couple of 100 yards away, to the ferry terminal. And in the ferry terminal, you're left for another about 3 hours while you wait for the ferry, which is a military boat done by the military. So whenever they choose to take you is when you go. You get on the ferry and you go to a neighbouring island, which is 20 minutes away, called Ebi or Ebi, depending on.
It's the US military when you say military.
Yeah.
So it's all US. That's a US base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then once you get to Ebi, you meet the dive boat, and the dive boat then takes you from there to Bikini. And that in its own right, depending on the weather, is between 27 and 30 hours across the Pacific. And trust me, it's not a flat, calm journey. And apparently it never is. So there's not a lot you can do for 30 hours bar lie down. And when you go down for dinner, you're literally holding on to everything and trying to eat and hold on to everything, because absolutely nothing stays still. You literally rock. It's water sky the whole journey.
How big a boat was you on?
She's about 38 meters long. A bit of a story. We actually ended up on 2 boats. So the boat that we should have been on didn't quite make it to port in time. It was delayed. But their other boat, Taka, was actually in port. So what they did is they put us on that boat for 2 days, which meant we had a bit of a unique opportunity to dive the aeroplane graveyard and the Prince Eugen, which is in the Kwajalein Atolls. Yeah. So we had a couple of days diving there, and then they transferred us across to Truck Master, which is now Solomon's Master, I think it is. So they just changed the livery on that one. And then once we transferred across to that, we then steamed across to Bikini to start the Bikini itinerary.
Yeah.
Almost had 2 liverboards in one.
Quite a trek.
And is that the quickest way that you did it, or are there quicker ways? Yeah.
Trust me, Jem, if we could have got there quicker, we would have.
If I could have teleported myself there, I would have.
It's pretty remote, isn't it? So did you have what happens if something goes wrong? Where's the nearest chamber?
Another 30 hours back in the same direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Again, that's part of the process. And
but this is what happened with Chris when they went out. That somebody was ill on first dive. And then
are you talking about the Crystal Sea Scuba trip out there?
Chris Hayward.
Chris Hayward. Yeah, he's one of our guys. Yeah, he dives with us, and he was actually due to go out on this trip with us, and at sort of a later stage pulled out.
He wasn't really ready for it again.
Yeah,
so
I think
no.
Just memories
trek
started coming back.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, if something happens, you have no option but to deal with that. And then people miss out on their trip.
So just to add a bit of context to that, they have actually got blow-up chambers aboard the boat. So the rig in extremis, there is an opportunity they can put you in a blow-up chamber aboard the boat. If you ended up in a bit of an oddity. But the beauty of the atoll is all the wrecks are pretty much as depth-wise. They all pretty much sit between in the 50 to 60 metre margin, 40, 50, 60 metre margin. So nothing's really going to be that deep. It'll be deep, and you're only doing 2 dives a day, but it's not catastrophic deep, So so actually, when you look at it like that, it's a pretty benign environment and relatively safe.
Yeah. Just look sensible, careful, make sure you're hydrated, make sure you're well slept, all the usual stuff that you advise people to avoid. Compression or what have you. You've got to know your own body, know your own limits, and sometimes you say, well, I'm not going to do that dive, and that's okay, because you live to dive the next dive.
Yeah, that's true.
You have just got to be totally sensible about it.
Yeah.
But it's a really strange environment. So it started off with Operation Crossroads, and that was 2 atomic bombs which they were testing out in the atolls. So they basically vacated the living population there to a nearby, or not too nearby, should I say, a neighbouring atoll. And this is where they started doing all the testing, and they kind of persuaded them that this was for the better of humanity and what a part of history they were going to be. But ultimately, it would appear that really they just wanted to blow stuff up and test it. So the Operation Crossroads was part of the first 2 atomic bombs that were set off there. And the outcome of all of the nuclear bombs that ended up getting set off is it's a bowl, essentially. So there's no life underneath. It's a sandy bottom bowl. This is where SpongeBob SquarePants comes in, obviously, with sandy bottom, because it really is a sandy bottom. It is a bowl. There's no reefs down there. There's no stones down there. It's just a bowl of sand with shipwrecks on it. Basically.
So everything that was there has basically just been swept away. They obliterated a couple of islands in the process. Everything was just completely obliterated. I read that the second bomb that went off was bigger than actually what they planned it to be. So I think they put the done different to it, and that went off, and that was huge.
I don't know if this is nice or not, but each of the bombs had a little name. They code named each of the bombs. So the first one which was called Test Able, which was the first one, that didn't actually have a massive impact on as well, not as massive impact as they expected, I don't think. And that bomb was called Gilda. I don't know why. There's probably a story behind why it was called Gilda. I don't know why. And then the second one, which is the one that was a bit more famous, was Test Baker. That's one that you hear a lot of people talking about. That was the one that really put some of those ships and subs to the bottom of the sea. And that one was called Helen. Again, amazing. I think it's something to do with the phonetic alphabet. And it goes through the phonetic alphabet. But that was the first 2 that kind of started it off. And they didn't really understand radiation, I don't think, did they? They didn't really They didn't clean up properly. They just hosed people down, and nobody was protected. They didn't have any protection on. It's quite barbaric when you look at it now. You know what we know now.
It was sold by the Americans this would be a really good thing for the development of the Marshallese Islanders and in the whole Pacific, and it would bring money to the community. And there was an agreement that it would get something like 150 million would go into the Marshallese community, and they signed the charter and all the rest of it. And to this day, the Marshallese have never received that money. So
it's a lot of speculation.
A lot of speculation. And blah blah blah. And actually, in recent years, only 8-9 years ago, the little community that they had on Bikini Island of Americans, they had a dive club there, and a little a set of shacks so they could take you ferry back in and out to the wrecks, etc. They've all been pulled. So it's just the Environment Agency on Bikini Island. So there's 2 Environment Agency workers, and the rest's a ghost town. It's quite
But it's quite bizarre when you actually take a trip to the island itself, because it is genuinely beautiful. It's like a tropical island, tropical paradise island that you could just imagine in
the Pacific.
Yeah. In the middle of the Pacific, right? Granted, but it's absolutely beautiful. It's stunning beaches, beautiful palm trees. But you can't eat the produce there. You can't. Nothing can grow there that is safe to eat. So they have to ship everything in.
Really? Even after all these years?
Yeah.
So what about marine life? Is there any fish?
There are.
Yeah.
It's not as healthy as going to Egypt, maybe.
Yeah.
There's no three-eyed fish for anyone that thinks there are. I haven't seen any of them.
Didn't see Godzilla?
No,
sadly.
Sadly not. No.
That's right. There was a reference to Bikini and Godzilla, wasn't
there? Yeah. But there's definitely...
Gemma doesn't watch any films, so I have to check.
Need to get a telly.
You need to tell it now. Yeah.
But they started off with 95 vessels from, there was all sorts. There was US, there was Japanese, I think there were some German ones there. Of those 95 vessels, there's seven really that are diveable, that you tend to be the common ones that you dive. The rest were either pulverized, are down there, but there's not much of them, or they actually had to scuttle them because they couldn't scrap them because of the radiation. They weren't safe to scrap, so they actually had to scuttle them elsewhere. So one of them, for example, Prince Eugen, was a German.
That's the one. Yes. Yeah. That was the one that was towed to America.
Exactly.
Well done. Yes.
And then I couldn't remember the name. It was towed to him. So after the war, right, the Americans said, well, we're going to have that battleship and we're going to take it around as pride as we won the war, fair enough. So they towed it, because it couldn't work. The engines were seized. They had to tow it all the way to America, had it on show, and then they towed it out there, didn't they?
Well, towed it out there.
No, you bang on, and they thought, oh, we do this.
They tried to blow it up, and it didn't blow up. So what they then did is they towed it back to Kwajalein.
Yeah.
And moored it there. And then eventually, because the bilges weren't working, and all ships leak, that's why they have bilges, it just sunk. So she now sits, and literally her prop is literally just out of the water. You can see a prop from
really?
Yes, great, right?
It's beautiful, and it goes all the way down, and there's so much light penetration, and it's pretty amazing.
Same respect though, because there's the German fleet and all that, but it's still an awesome ship in its day. To see it like that, come to that sort of fate.
Was it not in the Battle of Jutland at one point?
It was something like that, yeah.
It's
been in some really famous stuff.
I mean, it's
but alongside, well, not quite alongside, but within that kind of area, you've also got the aeroplane graveyard, and they literally, George, remember what they are? Is it
Hellcats
and bombers and that. And they didn't know what to do with all of them.
Helldivers.
Sorry. They didn't know what to do with them all, so they just dumped them. So we did another dive not far from the Eugen that is just called the aeroplane graveyard. You go in and there's a bomber, Hellcat, and then and you literally go from one to the other. There's hundreds of them. There's just so many of them in the water there.
Must be an amazing experience.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. Relatively shallow. It's in and around 30 odd meters. But the real stuff, once you get to Bikini, to be fair, they on their vessels they put all sorts on there. Guinea pigs. There was a lot of guinea pigs in one way or another, but guinea pigs, rats, pigs, cows, all rigged up with machinery to see what would happen to them. And they got blown up quite barbaric, really. You couldn't get away with that today, could you?
No.
But it's really good that you get to learn the history, of being in that site and environment. Then you come back with all this knowledge as well. It's
incredible because one of the dives we did, which was the IJN Nagato, which is Imperial Japanese Navy, was an incredible dive. We've got some amazing pictures from our new favourite photographers, Adam and Ashley, over there, and got some amazing pictures there. But the real cool story behind it is the admiral or whatever, the Japanese call their higher end of things, was the one that had basically issued the orders to start Pearl Harbor. And we'd visited Pearl Harbor on our return journey and gone through and seen all of the Pearl Harbor, done all of the tours there, which were absolutely fascinating. So it felt like a bit of a historical circle that we were doing. But yeah, I think
you dived that ship where they did all the where they had the meeting and all that.
Where they had the what? Sorry,
where they had their meeting to when you said
yes.
It's like a map room. I've seen from somebody else who's dived there, and that looked awesome.
So that's in the USS Saratoga. The USS Saratoga, which is it's a big aircraft carrier. It's a phenomenal wreck.
264 meters. Its aircraft deck, which, to put that in perspective for something that a lot of people would know, is over twice the length of the Thistlegorm.
Yeah. And it's some really great penetrations, exactly as you just alluded to, down into the CMC Crisis Management Centre ops room area where they have the maps and they've controlled all these things, etc. But actually, the more fun parts are going past the barber shop, into the dentist room, into the dive locker, and seeing these Mark 6C Gorman helmets, and then you sort of like think, hang on, wait a minute, I'm in the middle of the Pacific here, I'm 3 levels down on a US aircraft carrier.
20 minutes into a penetration.
25 minutes into a penetration. How much gas have I got left?
It's very, very long way in and exceedingly silty. I mean, open circuit guys are a pain in there, to be frankly honest. And
the bubbles.
Yeah, because your bubbles go up and then you just get all of these shards and bits of metal come down over the top of you. And a minute, even those little bits that land in the sill then create a system.
So skill-wise, you've got to be really on point with your skills then for like buoyancy, fin use and things like that.
Absolutely need to be on point with your rep penetration, your ability to line out, to understand all of that kind of stuff. Quite a lot of it is lined anyway, but you still need to understand your protocols of what to do. If you have a silt out, you are a long way from getting out where we were in some spots. So you do have to have quite a lot of confidence, to be fair.
Are you given a guide? Or can you have a guide?
Yeah, we had a guide. A chap called Craig Johnson, who's phenomenal.
Very experienced.
Phenomenal experience chap out there. Canadian guy, super nice, and really knows his stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's just a real fun person. He was actually shifted about. So Master Liverpool's really done us solid, and they shifted around the staff because sadly during lockdown everything came to a grinding halt, and the boats that run truck and bikini, obviously, as tourism wasn't a thing, they got moored up pretty much. Now the truck season was well underway, and they were bringing the staff from from truck that had finished that season there across as dive guides. Sadly, that meant that there was a little bit of a skill gap, but nothing they couldn't work around. So rather than put dive guides on the boat with us that hadn't dived that, Master said, okay, well, we'll take the skipper who used to be a dive guide off of this boat and we'll give him to you as a dive guide. Of course, he thought, happy days. I don't even need a skipper. I'm a dive guide again, getting paid as a skipper. Solid. So yeah, it worked out really, really well, didn't it?
Yeah, and he just knows, these wrecks inside out. He's done hundreds and hundreds of dives on them. So absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, great trip it sounds. Yeah. So
I mean, we dived all of the 7 common ones. So there's a couple of subs in there, battleships, destroyers, that kind of stuff. All the names that people would recognise. Pilot Fish was a submarine.
Yes, it's Pilot Fish.
The Nagati, which we've talked about, USS Carlisle.
Anderson, Appigan. Yeah.
Yeah. I never know how to pronounce that one. Appoigan, Appigan.
APOG. Yeah.
It's a funny one.
It's Appigan.
And Arkansas.
On the Arkansas.
Yeah.
What's your favourite dive out of the lot?
Saratoga, all day long, for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Tash on that one, to be fair.
They nickname it the Star. And it's the one that everybody seems to want to do before you get there. And sometimes you can be disappointed, but it just does not disappoint. So many, I can't remember how many dives we did on that one. It was a lot. But you never seen the same thing twice.
Yeah. Sounds great. So have you got any more big trips booked further afield?
Yeah, so we're off to Truck in February. We've got a couple more liveaboards before then, and then in Egypt, and then we're off to Truck in February. So we're quite excited about that.
Is that a first time for Truck?
The Truck, yeah.
Yeah.
This has been rolled over a few years
Yeah.
because of COVID and what have you. It took them a really long time to open their doors. And I think we were moved about 4 times.
Yeah. So this is quite an exciting one for us as well. And then on the horizon, we're hoping to go out to the Solomon Islands.
Yeah.
So
very cool.
yeah, I know that's sadly a little bit further again. So, it's a travel thing. So I think that's probably going to be.
But there's a nice World War fleet out there to go and
do a bit of legwork in the background as well to find out more about.
Yeah. And are these all trips that you've got through your group? So people, So if people want to know a bit more, where's the best place for them to?
So we put everything on Tash and George's dive trips on Facebook. So all of our trips get uploaded there. We put out the, what do you want to do, what you're interested in, gauge your interest, get the trip put up. So it all happens there, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We're a bit of a slave to Facebook for that one, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and I suppose for some of these, especially if it calls for more certs or more experience, it gives people to a year, maybe 2 years to work on some of that and build that up.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't technically qualified for bikini when we booked it.
Tom?
Tom wasn't, but both of us got our qualifications where we needed to be.
Yeah.
So it's all doable.
Like training, Gem, isn't it? You train for the action you're going to undertake.
Yeah. No, that's good. Well, we'll put the link in the show notes so people, if they're listening and want to have a look at the up and coming trips.
Cool.
Yeah.
We better do our questions.
Yes, I'll set questions.
Go on then.
Okay, so this is to each of you. If you could take 3 people diving, so they don't need to be divers as such, just the principle of taking them diving, past or present, who would you take, Tash?
So I've been thinking long and hard about this. I'd love to have taken my mum diving. She would have loved it. She was in the Navy. Unfortunately, her disabilities would have meant she could have never gone diving. So, but she would have loved it. Absolutely loved it. My dad can't swim, but he would just be fascinated by everything we see down there. So I'd love to take him if I could persuade him, but it's never going to happen. He doesn't even like water in his ears. And the third one, probably a bit controversial because of the way he was, is Jack Cousteau. I mean, he bashed Rex around. He bashed the Thistlegorm to death, didn't he?
Yeah.
Which we just wouldn't get away with now. But what a fascinating chap, and certainly a history.
Yeah,
Changed the course of history with diving and what have you. So, I think it would be fascinating to go for a dive with him.
I think he's a must, and it always amazes me the depths he used to do on air. I just think, wow, how did you ever cope with that?
But we never learned until these people tried these things. This is where all the stats come from, is what happens if, chuck someone in and let's see what happens. It's how we know what we know today, I guess.
Yeah, no, good answers. How about you, George?
And I'm pretty pathetic like that. And I would say my wife, my daughter, and any of my friends, literally. So so not as cool as Jack Cousteau, but a bit more honest.
But it's lovely through your experiences, everybody else can, experience your underwater world. Yeah,
brilliant.
Awesome. All right. Second question. Okay, and you can have either a joint one or individually. I don't mind. But we like to give our listener a life hack, a nugget. Can be about diving. That'd be great. If not, that's fine. If not, do you have one?
I think one thing George always says is, if you want to do it. Don't worry about blockers. There's always a way to get around it. So if you want to go to bikini, a lot of people say, I can't afford it. There'll be a way somehow. just book it far enough in advance, whatever. So I think that's one thing George always says to me, which is very true. Probably wouldn't have done all the stuff in diving that I've done if it hadn't been for George kind of unlocking that potential and unlocking those the ways forward. And just recently, the other thing that I would say, just through some things that have happened in my personal life, is live every day like it's your last.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things, probably ties in quite nicely with the first one, but that's for me, I think.
Exactly that. You know, I say to people, this sounds really pathetic. Don't laugh, right? Have the poppadom, have the extra naan bread, have that extra pint, you know, have a second cup of coffee. Doesn't matter. Book the second holiday. Go for 10 days, don't have 7, you know. Seize the day, because do you know what? A lot of people die young and die miserable, and it's a big world out there.
Yeah.
Money is spent, and when it's gone, you soon get it back again. It's always how can I afford that? Once you paid for it, it's paid for. So seize the day. So absolutely, have the naan bread, have the poppadom.
I like that.
No,
really cool.
Have fun. That's the main thing. No, very good. Is there anything that takes either of you out of your comfort zone?
For me, there's always something in diving that takes you out of your comfort zone, I think. And you can be a bit bravado about it, but there is always something. So, starting my trimix journey was not from a depth perspective, but there's a lot of learning. But I think probably mainly for me, because it's something that I refused to go in any wreck for a long time. Wouldn't penetrate any wreck whatsoever. And now I'm going into some really deep penetration that I've never done before. But every time you penetrate a wreck, you always look at how much further can I go next time. But because you haven't done it, that takes you a little bit out of your comfort zone until you've done it for the first time. So every time you go a little bit further, for me, takes me out of the comfort zone, makes me slightly apprehensive, which is not a negative thing. That's actually a good thing, because it makes you look at what you're doing properly. It makes you think about it. It makes you be less kind of complacent and what have you. So lots of things in diving, I think, for me, take me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah. How about you, George?
Heights.
Heights.
Heights scares the Jesus out of me. Heights, and
that's really
and
bizarre,
spiders.
isn't it? And then you can stay dead.
Spiders. I'm not keen on them either, but heights and spiders.
When we drive to Dorothea Quarry over in North Wales, which is a nice deep sort of 100+ technical quarry, the route we go, if it goes wrong and we end up going over Snowdonia, he's like a quivering mess in the back of the car.
Oh, I go.
So we always have to try and go the other way.
Yes, no, heights, just no, I don't agree with it at all. I'm allergic to them. Can you be allergic to them?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I'm allergic to them.
I like that. Well, before I ask the last question, I think we should mention as well, for the people who can't see what Tash and George are wearing, we better give shout out to O3. Tash is sporting the O3
t-shirt.
Yeah, very nice. George is sporting the JJCCR t-shirt. Very nice.
Yeah. There you go.
Excellent, good. And we better give a shout out to our lovely sponsors, Narc at 90.
Yes,
who we went to see this week.
And I have to say that we all use Shearwater stuff that we've got from Narc at 90, believe it or not, Terex and Perdix and Nerds.
LDL somewhere. There we go.
I saw a nerd on Wednesday, and I was amazed. It's really awesome. Yeah.
Although I think you look a bit like the Borg when you
Yes.
Yeah, but to see you have a compass on there and everything.
Yes, that's clever stuff.
I like the Borg look. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, very good. Yeah, so and guys at Narc are really helpful for anybody in that sort of technical world, and
they're super friendly. We've been there before, and the guys have shown us around the factory, and shown us lots of things we probably shouldn't have seen. But they're just super friendly. You just want to talk to you, don't they?
Sounds terrible.
We've seen the Tarek before.
That's true.
No, great people.
Yeah, good. Okay, so last question. Right, Tash, I'm going to go for you first. We're going to give you a billboard, and you can put anything on it you like. It could be a picture, it could be a video, it could be an image, it can be a statement, whatever you like. But you've got a billboard. What are you going to
I had a statement. I had a statement to start with, and then when you said picture, I thought actually, at the moment, my favourite diving picture is of me between two guns on the Legato, which I think I sent over to you actually. But it's just an incredible picture at 50 metres. Looks so bright. So I'd probably put that up with the slogan, live every day like it's your last. There you go.
Like that.
Yeah,
Cool, nice answer. George?
I don't really know. It's a difficult one. That's a really tricky one. That is.
You've got some cool photos from bikini, to be fair.
Yeah, I know. Probably a nice photo would be nice. And don't forget your friends. Don't forget your friends. That's a really good one, because you see things that where people actually let go of themselves and progress on. And I think that bringing your friends through your journey is a really important thing to do. And we've tried, certainly with our daughter, to keep her included in everything we've done. And everything we've done, whatever, we've never let go of our friends.
Even on the boat, that brings in what you're saying there. You've got a right eclectic bunch on the boat, from people that are super well qualified in diving to not very well qualified. You've got glittering careers in all sorts of areas of jobs to somebody who's just retired, trickling along, not doing very much. But it's all about the crack, and it's a very, very level playing field once you're on the back of the dive deck, all chatting and all friends. And you're right, those guys, the guys that we see time in and time out on those trips, it's great fun, isn't it?
I think an experience to go somewhere is only as good as the person you share it with. If you've got nobody to share it with, it's not really an experience. So don't forget friends.
Yeah, I like that. It's a nice answer, that.
Great answers, lovely answers. Yeah. So and it brings kind of full circle what diving's all about, doesn't it? It's just having fun and sharing the experiences, definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and hopefully, if people will make inquiries on your Facebook page, and you'll have a few more people, tapping you up for some boat trips and dive trips.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, guys, thank you very much.
Great.
See you late next time, hopefully.
All right.
It's a bit clearer. Great.
Hey, well, that was really cool. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, amazing. Hearing about a place so far away and about their diving experience.
Yeah, we want to say thanks to George and Tash for coming on. I want to get them on to really have a chat about their trip, because it sounded fantastic. And it's as we said, it's a chance of a lifetime type of location to go diving.
But
so much history there as well.
Yeah, that's right. Might obviously, have a look at truck and bikini, and just the history alone is an amazing. The huge.
Some of the ships which are there and involved. It's good to. It's amazing to see in real life. Their books they read about in history.
History comes alive.
It takes so long to get there.
Yeah, but then you're rewarded with that diving.
Oh, absolutely.
So, and then obviously they do lots of other trips as well through their Facebook group. So that's really good. So take a look at it, and maybe make an inquiry, and you never know, you might end up on Tash and George's dive.
Yeah, I believe it's all on Facebook. And that's how I first came to know Tash and George through the Facebook group.
But thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, okay, well, thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading this episode. Also, we should say happy birthday to Tash.
Yes, I was just going to say that.
You hear this, happy birthday.
It's your birthday podcast edition.
Yes. And should we listen to this on the dive boat? So
what was that?
I know, that's pretty mega, actually.
Yeah, and if you're a new listener, welcome. And there's lots of other episodes to download, over 150.
Yeah, if you are wondering what a liverboat is all about.
A liverboat, a liverboard.
What a liverboat is, somebody asked me once, what is it? Because they heard somebody else talking about it. And literally, you would be on a boat and there can be in the Red Sea, there's other ones, all around the world that you can go on. But basically, you can be on a boat and you'll do several dives all during the whole week.
Yes.
And it's a fabulous way of seeing a particular part of the world where you just want to dive, and it's literally you dive probably 3 or 4 times a day, all different dives,
different locations through the week,
and then after the week you go home.
Yeah. So definitely a good way to do.
So it is. When I did mine, I did many firsts for me, which I probably might not have done if I hadn't gone on a Liverpool.
Yeah.
And I've been telling you, it's something for you to do at some stage.
Yeah, definitely.
It'd be really cool. So. Yeah, so anyway, thanks for downloading, thanks for listening to this episode, and after this, I'm not sure who we got coming up after this one.
We're going to be talking to Santi.
Oh yes.
Yeah, so that's in the pipeline. So
Yes,
we'll be chatting to Santi and hearing about their equipment.
Yeah, look forward to that. So look them up. In the meantime, Santi Diving. Thanks to Night at 90 for always sponsoring this episode. Really love you guys, and having you on board. It's always really cool. Look them up at night90.com.
Yeah, so thank you for downloading, and we'll see you next time.
So right now, this was
the BiG Scuba Podcast.
See you soon.
Now that does wrap up today's episode of the BiG Scuba Podcast. But if you want to hear more from the podcast, make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button depending on what platform you are listening on. That way you will never miss an episode from us. But if you are listening on Apple Podcasts and did enjoy what you heard today, we would really appreciate it if you head to the show page to leave a 5-star rating and review. It really does help us. If you do, please take a screenshot of that review and send it to us on Instagram, and we'll give you a shout out to say a big thank you. If you have any questions for us or anything that has been mentioned in today's episode, be sure to reach out to us on any of our social media platforms or send us an email. The links are in the show notes. We will get back to you no matter what. If you have made it to this point in the episode, we both want to say a big thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.